3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Just continues to be the day or series of days where the news just keeps on giving. I think by now we've all come to the realization that it is likely to be a Biden Harris competition. And we're certainly going to dig deep into this. President Biden and, better yet, not President Biden, but former President Trump against Vice President candidate Kamala Harris. Well, she's not a candidate. She is vice president. But that is our matchup. That is our matchup. It looks like it's going to be Trump versus Kamala Harris. And there's a whole host of things we need to discuss. Number one, I want to ask you folks, and I see in the comments, Melrose says Trump all the way. Fair enough. Number one thing I want to discuss with you folks is, regardless of what side of the aisle you may be on, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, we'll certainly entertain both sides or all sides of the aisle as we normally do. We're going to be asking the question, do you believe that by switching from Joe Biden to Kamala Harris, it benefited the Democrats in any way, fashion, or form? Or do you believe that maybe switching from Biden to Kamala hurt the Democratic Party? Or is it a case of there really isn't going to make a difference at all? So I want to ask you folks, do you believe switching from Biden to Harris helped the Democratic Party, hurt the Democratic Party, or really made no difference at all? We'll certainly get into that. I'll give you my spiel on it as well. But we also have a couple other topics. Side note, real quick, we know Hunter Biden is still facing criminal charges. We don't know what's coming down the pipe in regards to the laptop or whatever else may come out. Obviously, if Trump is elected in November, Hunter Biden's life could be in peril. So we're going to ask a simple question on the way out. Should Biden pardon Hunter? Should Biden pardon his son, knowing that if he does not, his son's future is in the hands of President Trump if he ends up in the White House? So we talk about that one. And last but not least, I want to ask you folks, how do you think of this? Now, we know that there was an assassination attempt on President Trump's life. We know somebody tried to take the life of former President Trump. And I think we're all aware that Biden reached out to him, offered him sympathy, condolences for what happened. Personally called President Trump, made it clear, wow, there goes MAGA. Personally tried to reach out to Trump when all of that was happening. And now we hear, just yesterday, Biden steps down, and everybody believes it was likely due to his mental decline, his health decline in terms of mental health. Trump ridiculed the hell out of the man. Still been doing so today. Now, Biden is a former opponent at this point. He's no longer an opponent of Trump. He's no longer running for office. So he is out of the ring, out of contention, and Trump is still attacking him. And what I want to ask you folks is, why would Trump continue attacking a person that's no longer an opponent that a little bit over a week ago reached out to offer him sympathy when somebody tried to take his life? What say you? Like to hear your opinion on that? Those are going to be our topics today. Should Biden pardon Hunter, and does Kamala make any difference at all for the Democratic Party? You know how we run the program. We are MAGA friendly, always have been, always will be. MAGA are our preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So when you're in the box or you're in the comment section, you don't have to agree with any damn body, including yours truly. It's all about free speech. So looking in the comments, I thought we were going to come together after the attempt, says David. Apparently that was a ruse. Apparently the desire to unify was coming from the Republican Party, not from President Trump. It based on the actual statement at the RNC, when you look at how everyone else spoke, on the Republican side of the aisle leading up to Trump's speech on at the RNC, it was pretty clear that they all wanted to promote unity until Trump got up there and spoke and started calling Nancy Pelosi crazy and Biden stupid and things like that. So everyone else in the Republican Party after that assassination attempt did want to promote unity, but you heard Trump's 90-minute speech. It was anything but. So there goes that. Looking in the comments, Trump can't attack Kamala. Trump can't attack Kamala without being racist or disrespectful. They're going to have to coach him up. Wow. Because you can attack a black woman without being sexist or racist. You certainly can do it. But, yeah, I mean, attacking her simply because of her color or simply because of her gender. Yeah, and I will tell you, before I go to the box, the amount of memes I've seen on social media, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, about Kamala wearing knee pads, sucking dick to promote herself. The sexist comments are all over the damn place. I mean, keep in mind, regardless of how you feel about Kamala, there's no denying that Trump has banged the hell of a lot of chicks. Remember the whole locker room conversation? So the idea that Kamala did it and it's supposed to be viewed as a measure of shame, but when Trump did it, it comes across as heroic. How is that not sexist? It's okay for a man to be a hoe, but a woman can't? Point that out. And that's assuming Kamala is guilty of what they're accusing her of. So the sexism, I don't know about the racism yet, but the sexism is already in play. Looking in the comments, what's good for the goose? Fair enough. Locker room talk, yeah, whatever. It's sexist. We'll leave it at that. Let's see what the right turds have to say now. Let me go to the box. Won't blow me that long. I appreciate you folks that are tuning in. Right off the bat, we got about almost 500 of you here. Smash that like button. Or on YouTube, rather, smash that like button. Get the likes up to about 20. On TikTok, feel free to tap the screen. Get the likes up to about 20,000. We can certainly make that happen. Going straight out to the one and only Country Hound Dog. Good afternoon, Country Hound Dog. Welcome to the program.
How's it going, Tim?
Going good, going good. What do you think? Is Kamala, is she a benefit to the Democratic Party in any way, shape, fashion, or form?
I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this when I say it.
Say what you want.
Democrats are all about, doing everything by the process and election, doing everything on the up and up, vote for this person, vote for that person. But when Joe said, hey, I'm stepping down, instead of holding a DNC and actually giving everybody a chance, the Democrats just said, no, we're not giving nobody a chance. We're going to put her up here. Joe endorsed her. That's it.
Okay, I get
Democrats going back on their own word about being democratic about electing people.
Okay, I got two. Wait, hold on. Let me get in here. I want to respond to that. I'll let you continue with your next point. Two issues. First of all, this week on George, once again on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, they had a Republican whose name I cannot remember, but certainly a Republican politician that stated if they skip over Kamala, with the money, the campaign funds were donated to the Biden-Harris campaign. So everybody who's donated money to the Democratic Party that donated to the Biden-Harris campaign, if they do what you said and somebody else ends up running for the nomination, all of that money has to be given back. Otherwise, it is a crime. And that Republican politician stated, we would personally sue the Democratic Party if they don't put Kamala up there. So that is a major issue. How do you feel about that?
Well, if it would be a crime, then yes, that'd be a crime. And the Republican who said that is correct.
Okay.
I did miss that. I didn't get to see that interview. Okay. I just find it, like I said, the Democrats always talk about doing everything fairly and by election process, but this is where they're circumventing. So now
wait, you just heard what I said. How are they circumventing? How are they circumventing? I just told you it would be illegal to do what you said. Right. They have to go to Kamala.
All they would have to do would be return the money, then they could hold their DNC. I don't see them doing that though.
Why would
And
they?
I think they will keep Kamala
Yeah.
because they want to keep those campaign funds and they want to move forward. Right now, in my opinion, after what happened to Trump, okay, on the attempt, it has, and then Joe Biden stepping down, it has set the Democrat Party into disarray. Okay, they are doing damage control. I was just watching the Kimberly Cheadle subpoena in the congressional where they're questioning her, and she has been doing nothing but stonewalling for the last 4 hours. It's impressive. You can stonewall that long. But do I think Kamala brings anything to the table as a president? No. And here's why. And I'm shocked that AOC has endorsed her. Or really not shocked because AOC went against all of her constituents that are legal citizens and said the base of her voters is illegals. She admitted to that in an interview. And Kamala and Biden, as you know, opened the border and allowed a lot of illegals to come in under the guise of seeking, sanctuary and I'm lacking a word here. Seeking
asylum.
Sorry, I couldn't think for a second there. But seeking asylum. Kamala sat there and denied, and same as Biden denied there was anything going on at the border for what, a year or better before they finally went down and looked at it. So my question is this: if she becomes president, is she just going to sit there and bury her head in the sand and deny that anything's going on for a year or better before she looks at it?
It's possible. Okay, let me get in. You're covering a lot. I'll say right off the bat, I don't favor Kamala's handling of the border either, because you're correct. She did for about a couple years say there was nothing wrong. But I want to get back to your earlier point, because I let you speak for quite a bit. In regards to the Democrats could give the money back and do a primary, you got 3 months in a week remaining, country hound dog. They're not going to do that. Right now, it appears with all the delegates going to Kamala, the party is incredibly united right now. Why would they put up what you're suggesting? Not to mention have to give all the money back and then hope to get it back and go through all of this process when they have a candidate that it appears as if the whole party is in favor of. And I'll continue by saying Rick Baradas on YouTube is also, thank you for the super chat, Rick, is saying the same thing. All that money raised by the Biden-Harris campaign can be legally transferred to a super PAC. What they have right now is a streamlined method, and they're backing one candidate. Why they would undo all of that and do what folks that don't support them are suggesting, I don't know if that makes sense, country.
Well, and I agree with you. It wouldn't make sense. But what it does show is the hypocriteness of the left that's up there in Washington. Also, I'm going to say this. Republicans there's going to be the sexism card played. There's going to be a racism card played. You got to remember where Kamala came from, and that she was California State Attorney General. Yeah. And look how many people she prosecuted unjustly.
So you're going to tell me, somebody who leans, you're going to tell me somebody who leans right suddenly has a problem with a person that's tough on crime? Isn't that what you guys complain about, is liberals are too soft? Now you got a liberal and you're saying they were too tough?
No, I'm saying when people are prosecuted wrongly.
Since when?
She had quite a few cases she did that on. But
wait. You're saying people being prosecuted wrongly. You do realize Trump is offering to give police immunity, right?
Nobody should be granted immunity if they're in the wrong.
All right. Well, I'm just telling you. You're not going to escape being prosecuted wrongly by voting Republican.
I'm just saying nobody should be granted immunity if they're in the wrong. However, it has been proven Kamala's had a number of cases that she went after, even though she had the evidence that she knew she was prosecuting the wrong individual. And that's why the cases got overturned.
But once again, if you're going to bring up that Kamala was prosecuting people wrongfully, have you heard of the Central Park 5?
trying to think. I've heard of it, but wasn't 100% of. I'm not 100% of who they are.
Okay.
So
They were prosecuted wrongly, and Trump called for them to be hung. It took out a huge ad in the New York paper suggesting that they literally be executed. They were 5 young African Americans that, as you state properly, was prosecuted wrongfully. So I want to point that out.
Okay, and that's a good point. Now, I wasn't fully aware of it. I had heard about it, but I didn't hear about all of it, so I didn't want to speak on it.
Okay. What else you got?
If they were prosecuted wrongly, then that should have never been called for.
All right.
But Kamala, I'm just curious to see if the black community is going to continue to back her after what she did to them in California. I'm just curious to see that.
Well,
and go back and look at all her cases and look who she primarily prosecuted. And I'm curious to see if people from poor black neighborhoods will continue to back her.
Well, that's a good question. I will point out that if they view Kamala as too tough in the past on blacks, their opposition to go to is Trump, who was woefully backing Rudolph Giuliani during the stop and frisk era. I'm just simply saying the things you're pointing out on Kamala, there is a whole lot of similarities with Trump, up to and including him now offering that if he is elected to give police immunity from prosecution. So if wrongful prosecutions are your concern, do you vote for the guy that's talking about giving police immunity from prosecution?
Well, and that's a very good point. And as for Giuliani is not running for president of the
That
United
ain't what
States.
I just said. He's offering immunity, though. That's now in the current.
Well, is that immunity going to be defined, though?
Well, if it's not, do you vote for him?
I'm going to vote for Trump based on other reasons.
Okay. But what about the reason you're discussing right now?
For the immunity, just like the Supreme Court decision, it needs to be defined.
And if it's not, let me ask it to you this way,
If it's not defined, then they should not get immunity.
Well, but once he's president, that's not going to matter. He is the one that promised to give police immunity. I want to ask you this based on your own statement. If you are an African American that is concerned about wrongful prosecutions, as you brought up, and you are told that Trump wants to give police immunity from prosecution, does he make a better candidate than Kamala?
That's a tough question. And that's one I'm going to think on for a while, and I'll catch you in another live and I'll answer it.
All right.
I want to think on that one for a while. However, you asked about should Trump continue to attack Biden? Even though he's out of the race now.
Right.
He needs to keep Biden's name. I think he needs to keep Biden's name in the limelight because Biden's policies was Harris's policies.
Yeah,
and keeping the two tied together, I think, will help Trump win the election.
What if it's talking about his age and him not being able to string together a sentence? Should he keep doing that, attacking the guy based on his cognitive abilities?
Yes, because I can't tell you how many times here on TikTok, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, how many times across the board and how many of the Democrats said, hey, Joe Biden was good to go. He's good to go.
Yeah.
They backed him, and now they turn, and then as soon as he drops out, even they have turned on him. Actually, right before he dropped out, they turned on him. The Democrats turned on him and said, look, your cognitive is gone. We want you to step down. And I think they did it because they want Kamala in there. One, she is.
What does that got to do with Biden's cognitive abilities? What does that got to do with his cognitive abilities?
Well, they wanted him out of the way because if he got out of the way, they're thinking Kamala being black and female is going to help them win the presidential race.
Right. I agree with that.
They turned on Biden to get him on out. And I think that's why they turned on Biden.
I think they turned on Biden because how shitty he looked at the debate. I think that's why they turned on Biden. I'll give you the last word. I do got to move it on country. So at the end of the day, you don't think Kamala, switching to Kamala from Biden, helped the Democrats out at all?
I don't think it's going to help them enough to gain the votes that they need to win. So long as Trump continues to point out the fallacies and the shortcomings of the Biden-Kamala presidential era time frame, and continue to point out Kamala's shortcomings as a prosecutor, if he can focus on that stuff and keep people going, I think he will win.
Fair enough. Last question. If it was up to you and you could snap your fingers and make it happen, between Kamala and President Biden, if it was up to you, you could magically make it happen. Which one would you prefer run against President Trump, between Biden and Harris?
I'd rather see Kamala run.
All right. You got what you want.
One, because she, I can't tell you how many of the Democrats I've heard say, and Republicans say, hey, we need younger blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I'd like to see what younger blood is going to try to bring to the table. Kamala is younger. I don't know her age. So I'm interested to see what she's going to bring to the table. But I am interested to know, and you know that Vance is Trump's VP.
Right.
And he's what, 39, 40?
Right.
So now he's bringing younger blood to the table as well.
Yeah, but he's a VP. He's a VP. Harris is the president.
Harris would be president, yes.
Right.
She was VP. But Trump picked Vance, and that's younger blood as well. So
yeah, but wait a minute. Hold on. Hang on. When Biden, wait, hold on. You're saying Trump, who is now the oldest presidential candidate in history, you're giving him credit for picking young blood because he picked Vance. Based on that theory, then Biden should get credit for picking young blood with Harris. We never said that about Biden.
Well, no, it never got mentioned, but yes, Biden did pick young blood.
Right, it never got mentioned. I agree. All right.
That is a credit to Biden.
All right.
And I'll agree with that. But like I said, I am interested to see what, young Democratic blood is going to try to bring to the table, and young Republican blood is going to try to bring to the table. That's the only reason I think that Kamala is the better pick to go against Trump, but I don't think she will win.
Fair enough. I got to move it on, Country Hound Dog.
I promise you this.
Real quick.
If she doesn't win, let's see what happens and how big of a race card gets thrown out there, or how big of a sexism card gets thrown out there.
The race card is going to get thrown. The race card is already out there, Hound Dog. I got to go. Appreciate it.
I'll see you around.
Anytime. Country Hound Dog is certainly a friend of the program. We don't have to agree politically. You know how the program works, folks. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We are MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. Tap the screen. Get the likes on up to about 30,000 on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button as well. We can make 50 happen. This is an uncensored program. If you prefer civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, after all, we go left of Bernie Sanders to having dinner with QAnon. This is where you should be. Feel free to follow the program on TikTok and subscription on YouTube, if you will. Moving on. From the Republican side, already mudslinging. Well, there's plenty of mudslinging on the left as well. But what I was going to say to my last caller, where he was stating that if Kamala loses, they're going to start talking about racism and things like that. At the beginning of his conversation, he admitted the racism is already coming out. I've had people personally tell me Kamala can't run because she wasn't born in America. Folks are saying, well, she's not black, she's Indian, she's Jamaican. The racism card is already in play. Now, the liberals may use it if she doesn't win, but the right is damn sure using it already. I got videos and pictures of Kamala wearing fucking knee pads. So the racism and sexism is already there. Moving on with the program, the same things were said when Obama was elected. Yeah, they brought out the birtherism card on Obama. That is true. That's what we expect from MAGA. Says, wow. Racism against Vance's wife, too. Well, there was racism against Nikki Haley when she was running. There was racism against Vivek Ramaswamy when he was running. They started saying Nikki Haley's real name. I mean, there are some people that don't want certain people to run the country. I mean, racism in America does exist. Going back to the box, we'll keep the program moving with Chief Judge Political. Good afternoon, Chief. Welcome to the program. You got an echo.
Is it bad?
Okay, it's gone. No, it's here. It's there. It's there still.
It's going now?
Nope.
Oh, God. All right, I'll drop and try to come back.
Okay. Yeah, it's a real bad echo. All right, let me move it on. Real quick in the comments, if you can't handle it, then you probably shouldn't be running for president, says Ashley. True, but you don't. Just because you can handle something, damn sure I can handle criticism all day. You guys call me every damn thing. Liberals think I'm a sellout. The right thinks I'm a freaking libtard. But just because you can handle criticism doesn't mean you don't point it out or you just ignore it. I mean, if people were throwing racial statements at you and sexist shit at you, maybe you can use it to your benefit. It is what it is. What does Trump always say? They never gave me a chance from day one. It's a witch hunt. They're trying to criminalize me. He's handling it, but he's pointing it out. So why can't the other side do that? He needs to stop listening to the stream while he's trying to call in. That's how it works. Do you think Iraq is going to be easier on you, says Ashley? I don't know, because I don't believe putting Kamala in power is going to make folks act a fool, because at the end of the day, the Joint Chiefs, where Kamala gets all her information from, whether she should strike or not, they're men. Yeah, the representative of America is a female, but she's getting all her military strategy from a group full of men. So don't ever pretend like, well, she's a woman, they'll be soft. No, there's no guarantee of that. You don't know who the hell is advising her. Kamala's not a military strategist, so she's clearly taking her advice from somebody else. Make a mistake and think a prosecutor, who everybody is suggesting locked up too many people, is soft, and you could end up with a bomb up your ass. I want to point that out. Let me go back to the box. RP, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Having a bit of a trouble. There we go. RP, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sam. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to have you back on. So Hillary Clinton, wow. Kamala Harris. Wow. Kamala Harris is the choice. Do you think that's a benefit to Democrats? No difference at all? Or do you think it'll hurt Democrats by switching to Kamala?
I think currently under the situation that the Democrats find themselves in, it's going to benefit them.
How so?
Solely because the time to do anything else, to pivot to anything else, is crucial, and I think that will only create a divide within the party itself. And right now, what Democrats don't need is in-party fighting, because if you have in-party fighting this close to the election, you're going to lose. There's no doubt about it.
Right, it's really close. It is really close. That's why I was telling my last caller who was suggesting that they give the donations back and then hold some type of primary, pick a candidate, and then hope folks donate money again. Like, you got 3 months in a week. You don't have enough time to do all of that. Not to mention, if there's a primary, does everybody else start running ads saying, vote for me, and Whitmer and Newsom are all trying to campaign against each other, destroying each other in the works, like what you normally do during the Only folks that would wish for something like that are people who's not going to vote for any of them to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, but to the point about as far as Kamala, receiving the funds and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's another reason why it's advantageous for them to keep her in place, because they don't want to lose that money they spent fundraising for the Biden-Harris campaign, right?
Right.
So I think there's a bit of a misconception, because I think I heard you speak earlier about a Republican saying something about suing.
Yeah, he was on this. Yeah, he was on This Week with George Stephanopoulos this weekend and stated, because they don't want to run against the likes of Michelle Obama or somebody. So they made it clear that if the Democrats put somebody else in over Kamala Harris, we're going to sue, because the law requires that money go to Kamala Harris. The Republicans have made it clear they're going to sue.
Right, correct. But again, this is why Democrats have made the decision they made, because number one, they don't want to lose that money. But number
Right.
two, if a new candidate was propelled to be on top of the ticket, they would have to start from zero.
Right.
And again, with this time crunch, that's not feasible. It's not a good idea.
Right.
So you work with what you got, and like we said, I think before, that Kamala Harris represents the policy that Joe Biden's put in place. So and we're not in that horrible space as a country, right? So we can work with her, and she may do better. You know, she may do worse. We don't know. But as this time crunch looms over the Democratic Party, they have to stick with what they know.
Let me give you this comment. This is a bit controversial, but you certainly will hear it now that Kamala is leading the Democratic ticket, or most likely to lead the Democratic ticket. I'm going to read this to you. It could be controversial. You take it any way you want. You know we don't block, ban, or censor. The floor will be yours. This is coming from They Call Me Cass on YouTube. He says, that's why we love Trump. He tells the truth and doesn't bend the knee.
That's a great comment.
No shit.
Because the king, he's not my king. He doesn't. I mean, I don't bend the knee to Trump either. But Trump is the one who they worship.
Yeah. But wait. Do you know what he meant? Tammy Green, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that. Do you know what he means likely by bend the knee in reference to Kamala Harris?
I hope he's not talking what I think you're talking about. But
he is talking about what you think he's talking about. That's exactly what the fuck he's talking about.
Well, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, we understand that people in this country have wild imaginations. They have cool things to say because what they want to do is they want to diminish the things or people that don't agree or look like them, right? So these kind of comments, while they have no place in society, they're not shocked, right? This happens all the time. And again, I think we last caller, race is going to come into play.
Yeah.
The fact she's a female is going to come into play. And there's going to be some very derogatory comments made about her. Just based on those facts alone. It has nothing to do with her political standing, has nothing to do with her qualifications. Solely based on the fact she's a woman and she's African American, there will be ignorant people who say ignorant things about her. So, what the gentleman, whoever that person was saying that, it's in one ear and not the other.
Yeah, but it's a lot of them. I got, even while you're talking, Jeffrey Hetzel on TikTok is even saying, knee pads Harris, ask Willie Brown. That's the individual she had an affair with. And folks are suggesting that she's only where she's at because she slept her way to the top.
But again, that's going to happen. I mean, and fortunately, we all get to be honored and be a part of your unfiltered live. So those folks can definitely say how they feel without criticism.
I'll speak on it, but before I move it on from you, should Biden pardon his son? I mean, if Biden loses, or better yet, Kamala loses now, and Trump gets in office, we know Trump has no love for the Biden family. So he would literally be leaving his son. You got a really loud background. So if Kamala loses, Biden's son is in the hands of Trump. Should Biden pardon his son on the way out?
100%.
100%.
100%. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, no shit. Right. Called the man every name in the book, said they don't even know where he's at. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. At this point, for Biden, there's nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
All right. Appreciate it, RP. I'll move it on. Come on back anytime. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you. And I see somebody in the comments said President Trump would pardon his child. Yeah, I think Trump would have already did it. To save his child, the stress of going through court and trial, he would have did it in the beginning. But we'll continue moving the program on. Here's something I want to bring out. Because we know somebody said in the comments, Willie Brown, the individual that Kamala allegedly slept with, had an affair with or whatever. I don't get how, let's say MAGA, yeah, DJ Julio, appreciate the hot mustache, thank you. What I don't get is how they're pointing this out, knowing damn well Trump, the playboy, is married to a woman that has nude pictures online. I mean, if you're going to point out Kamala slept her way to prominence, But you favor Trump knowing his wife almost certainly did the same thing? Make it make sense. Are there folks who look at Melania and look at Trump and say that was a marriage that just came together organically? Or would you agree that President Trump's finances likely has something to do with it? His own wife fits the narrative that MAGA's throwing at Kamala. And I don't know if MAGA even sees that. Cleo, thank you for the subscription. I'm about to say Madam Cleo. Call me now. Thank you, Cleo, for the subscription. I don't know what the name says there, but he says in caps, Melania is a private citizen, unlike a government official. So in other words, if Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton had done the same thing as a private citizen, the right wouldn't be saying nothing about it. Come on now, let's not get crazy here. She's a private citizen. As if we don't criticize private citizens that sleep their way to the top all the damn time. Suddenly, when it comes to Melania, she gets the benefit of not being a politician. All right. Looking in the comments, love you, brother. Spitting the truth. Thank you, David, on YouTube. Appreciate that. Trump showing signs of dementia. Wow, says user. I'm not going to jump on that train, but I will say this. When you spend a large portion of your political career attacking somebody based on their age and cognitive ability, and then you're suddenly the oldest dude, it's very possible some of that could come back at you. Because right now, Trump is officially the oldest candidate to ever run for president. He is older than Biden was this time 4 years ago. Trump is older than he is. So all of the issues about Biden's age, can he do 4 years? Some folks are going to reflect that back at Trump because he threw it around so much. We'll see how it goes, but it is what it is. All right, moving on with the program. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get the likes on up to about 40,000. We'll go to Paula, Tennessee. Good afternoon, Paula. Is Kamala Harris going to make any difference for Democrats at all? Maybe even hurt their campaign, help their campaign, make no difference. We'll give it a moment. Looks like the box is going to play games. Damn. Average thought process out here. World's cook. TP, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Paula, good afternoon. Paula, are you there? Okay, I'm assuming she has a bad signal or something. We'll move it on. Going back to the box, we'll go to the HR Gator. Good afternoon, Gator. Welcome to the program. Gator, good afternoon.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good to have you on a female. Good. This is good. Kamala Harris, being a female, would that make any difference for the Democratic Party?
Oh, I hope so. Shit. Let's get yes. God, yes. Let's get some different perspectives, some different ways of doing things. Let's get something different. Isn't that what everyone's been asking for?
I don't think MAGA has, because they had 9 other options. They picked Trump.
Oof. I know.
You said oof. You said oof. So what? You clearly favor Kamala over Biden.
Well, here's the thing that I cannot wrap my head around that everyone keeps saying. We didn't vote for Kamala. We didn't vote for Kamala. Yes, you did. I went to the ballot box and I voted for Biden, and it had her attached to it.
Right.
I understood in that second when I circled in those little circles that if he kicked the bucket the next day, she was our president. I chose both when I picked. I did choose. If I had liked him but was terrified of her, that could have changed my direction. So people can like Trump, but there are certain Republican candidates that people would just absolutely not like for Trump, just for either side. So to me, I did choose her when I chose him. It was the understanding of the democratic process.
Yeah, and that's where the idea that the Democrats were wrong for not holding a primary, you're right. People who have donated money and voted, they voted for Kamala along with Biden. You can't just put anybody in there.
Her name is on the paper. It says Biden-Harris campaign.
Yep.
Both. You're voting for them both. You're donating to them both. You are supporting them both. I don't understand the mental disconnect right now. Also, if everybody, first of all, don't get trashy and stoop to levels like she slept her way to the top. First of all, if she did, damn, she's good. You know, I mean, I've been with my husband for 25 years. I'm still in a damn rent house because of medical bills, okay? Look, I put in a lot of work, and here she is. If she made it to VP, go girl. Yeah. How many people have been with Trump? Get out of everybody's bedrooms. This is half the damn problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand it, because like I pointed out, Melania Trump clearly has slept her way to better positions as well. Somebody pointed out where she's a private citizen, not a politician. She's first lady. She's representing the damn country. She's first lady.
She also looks like she'd rather be sleeping every time she's sitting next to him. She is not interested. She looks miserable. I feel terrible for her. I want to be like, girl, blink twice if you need help.
Well, I will tell you something. MAGA is very loyal and has a lot of adoration for Trump. If Kamala left President Trump and it was not on Trump's terms, it might not be safe. Melania. If Melania left Trump and she didn't leave on Trump's terms, it might not be safe out there for Melania.
Absolutely not. I mean, I have no idea. That woman looks terrified. Anybody that's been with a malignant narcissist for a certain amount of time or any amount of time understands that you don't just get to walk away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so you have a malignant narcissist at the highest level with not only money, but power and influence. So you're not dealing with your run-of-the-mill dude down the street that's just a jackass that beats his wife and tells her that she can't leave. No, you have someone with connections and power and money. Where's she going to go?
Yeah. Well, if Trump were to get on, if she left Trump and let's say she took a good grip of money and Trump got on social media and continued to trash her, it wouldn't be a safe environment for her.
No, because everyone would turn on her in a dime. Like the same people who are posting, these Christian memes. I'm a Christian. I'm a full-blown Christian. Get out of here. You cannot post Christian meme, then a picture of you wearing like the weird cotton on your ears with the tape. This is not Nelly and his Band-Aid. Stop. Like, what are y'all doing? You're all weird ass cult like things you're doing, and like she's sitting there looking like she'd rather be anywhere else, and I'm sitting here going, you never know what goes on behind closed doors, but it is really awkward when you start putting signs in the front yard.
Wow.
Well, I can make inferences. They're only inferences, but it looks miserable and very culty. I also didn't lose any money in swag, as of last night. Because, I've never spent money on, I feel bad for these fools that spent, anybody who has ever put up a marketing ad on a billboard knows it's about $2,500 for the graphic, $1,500 for the initiation, and then $1,500 per month to have that up there. So all these poor suckers with Let's Go Brandon billboards on the road, oof. That's embarrassing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you got a billboard of a guy that's no longer running. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you guys have got a lot of merch that says, Let's Go Brandon. I'm like, well, are you following him home? Because that's where he's going. Y'all are dumb as hell now. Let's go, Brandon. Where are we going?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it is one thing Trump was excelling at is he had focused on his opposition, and he was wiping the floor with Biden in most polls. But, suddenly his opposition is somebody completely different.
Oh, for real? I mean, if you think that I didn't sit there and I haven't been sitting here for 2 years going, damn it, Joe, come on, honey. Just like, oh, come on, And then to see that debate broke my heart. Because I knew that this is a terrible situation.
Yeah.
But I think that no matter what, you have to look at, I have to go into my mind and pretend for a minute. Because I have no other option. It's good or it's bad. So pretend he's a good man, and we just know he's a good man. Pretend Joe Biden. I have no proof either way. So let's pretend he's just a good man, and pretend that man sat at home the night before and looked over, sick with COVID, 80-something years old, and looked and said, "Joe, I'm tired. I'm done." And what kind of heartbreak does that take from someone who has been in service for 54 years to our country? How many events, things has he missed? You got to look at, this is, when he was born, he's just a kid. When he's a teenager, he's just a teenager. He turns into a man who picks a career field. Along the way, he loses a wife, 2 children. And I saw a man earlier that said no matter whatever happens in his political career from this moment on, he's already had the 2 worst days of his life.
Yeah. I don't
So,
disagree with that. By losing your own, losing your own child and losing your wife, yeah, certainly.
that's it. So he's lost 2 children and a wife. He's already had the 2 worst days of his life. Say whatever you want to about him. He's getting ready to go home, y'all. He's like, hey, I've only got till November, and then I'm retired. So whatever time he has left, he will spend with grandchildren, children, whatever.
But should he pardon his son? Before I'm moving on, should he pardon his own son?
He said he would not, and I hope he does not. He said, really? I do hope he does not. You know why? Because I can't pardon my own son. If my son is in the damn Navy. If he does something, guess what? It's totally out of mama's hands. I can't do anything for that child.
You had me to that point. Leave it. You think he should leave his son to the hands of Trump?
Trump would. He would absolutely pardon his children, and I would kill for my children. But if you go off and you break the whole ass law, and you knew better, and you get in trouble, and you are tried in a court of your peers appropriately, and you got in trouble, you serve the time. I've told my kids before, don't get your ass in jail. You're going to spend the night there. You're going to spend some time. Don't do it to go in. That's your consequence.
Mama don't play. I got to move it on, Gator. Wow. That's tough.
I'm a Southern mama.
God.
I'm not playing.
All right. I would be mad at my mom if she did that, but I got to move it on.
You know what? They know from day one, though. They know my expectation.
I see.
20 and 16. They haven't been in jail yet.
All right. Appreciate you coming through, Gator. That is tough as hell. And I'll respond to, I think it says D in the comments there. Diaz, you said pardoning Hunter would make him look bad. What else can Biden do to look? I mean, he already looks bad. And the folks that would criticize Biden for pardoning Hunter, they already hate the guy. It's not going to make him look that much. I mean, if you are a fan of Biden, you probably think, unlike my last guest, the overwhelming majority of Biden supporters are okay with him pardoning his son. The overwhelming majority of people that would criticize Biden pardoning his son or say it makes him look bad, they didn't give a damn about Biden to begin with. Because as many are pointing out, Trump would have pardoned his child before the trial even began. So yeah, I disagree with my last caller. I would certainly pardon my child, especially if one of my most heated rivals was going to be controlling the government after I leave off. You're going to leave your son to the hands of Trump? MK Instinct says 2,000 divided by 66 equals, 2,000 divided by 666. I suppose that's the mark of the beast, the mark of Satan, but 2020, this is interesting. 2020 divided by 666 equals 30330. This is Biden's, when you get the text messages from the Biden campaign, they come from 30330. And what my viewer is saying, if you take 2020 and divide it by 666, you get Biden's text message number, suggesting, I suppose, that Biden has some connection to Satan. Wow. I've never done the math. I get a lot of texts from that number. I got polled a lot, by the way. I was going to do a video on it, but Biden stepped down too damn quick. But last weekend, because I was getting polled by so many liberal polls asking, how would you feel if Kamala took over? So it clearly was in the air. Now, Biden apparently did this without telling even people close to his campaign, but it was clearly in the air because I started getting polled by liberal polls that didn't even mention Biden's name. Like, they were like, which one of these other candidates do you wish would run? How would you feel if Biden stepped down? And I'm like, damn, like, tell me what's on your mind. Real quick, 1 cup, 2 bears says, if you are pro-choice, you're not a Christian. I've heard that before. I've heard folks say that. If you believe a woman should have the right to abortion, you're not a Christian. I suppose there's an argument to be made to that, but if you're going around saying fuck around and find out, you're not very Christian either. I don't believe you're very Christian if you're a fan of the death penalty. I don't believe most Americans throughout our ancestry would fit the narrative required to be designated a Christian. When you look at the laws in this country of how awful certain groups, whole groups of people whole genders of people were treated. I think it's safe to say a lot of Americans are not Christian, but I'll leave it at that. In the comments, I guess the guy who said Trump 2024, do you remember what Trump did to the Puerto Ricans in their country when the tornado came to your country? That was the throwing toilet paper and things like that. Didn't he try to redraw the path of a hurricane? Am I remembering that right with a Sharpie or something? Let me go back to the box. Anybody that supports Trump is not a Christian, says Arthur Fields. Damn. Anybody that supports Trump is not a Christian. I'll leave that at that. Going back to the box. We'll try Chief Judge Political again. I appreciate you holding on, Chief Judge. Hopefully the echo has disappeared. Moving on with the program. By the way, tap the screen, get the likes up to, we can get up to about 60,000. We got over 1,100 of you folks in here on this fine Monday morning or Monday afternoon. You could be anywhere you want to be. I appreciate having you here. Uncensored free speech. That's how we run the program. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You don't have to agree with the damn host. Nobody's going to block, ban, or censor you because you have a difference of opinion. We don't talk down to guests. We go left of Bernie Sanders to having dinner with QAnon. It's all about free speech here. The box, problematic. We'll give it a chance to reset. I want to know 3 policies the Democrats are going to implement that will help the country. It's a good question. Heidi, and that's a female, by the way. 3 policies. If you lean right, you're not going to agree with them, such as making the abortion rights accessible to women across the land. If you lean right, that's not helping the country. Maybe forgiving student loan debt. If you lean right, that's not helping the country. Maybe strengthening health care. If you lean, so I could point out policies that many on the left would think that would be helpful to the country. But if you lean right, you don't favor any of that stuff. So I could not point out to someone on the right 3 policies that the Democrats are going to impose that helps everybody in the country, because you're not going to agree with them. You got folks on the right don't even agree with a minimum wage increase. So if you don't believe that helps, then there's no way to do that. But I appreciate your input. Why hasn't Biden done those things? Why hasn't Biden done those 3 already, says Arita Fam or something like that? You don't know why Biden hasn't already given college tuition forgiveness, strengthened health care, increased minimum wage, made abortion legal? You don't know why that hasn't happened? Really? Okay. I think everybody in the audience can tell you why he hasn't done those things. One word: Republican, period. But I wouldn't say resistance, but Republican resistance. 2 words. Going back to the box, why hasn't he done those things already? All right. Moving on with the program. Thank you folks that are tapping the screen. Get the likes on up to about 60,000. We can certainly make that happen. Always want to address a super chat coming in on YouTube before we go to the box. You see, I saw that if you were Trump, if you were pro-choice, you are not a Christian. Like I said, I don't know if I would agree with that, but it makes sense because I'm not real deeply involved in religion, but it does make sense to some folks. Flight 454. We're talking about Kamala now at the top of the ticket. Does that benefit Democrats at all? Flight, good afternoon.
Hello, what's going on?
Not much. We got Kamala at the top of the ticket. Does that change anything? Turn off your signal.
Not a lot. I think Trump's best bet is to ask why has it taken so long for Joe to step down, and how long did she know that he was in decline?
You're talking about like elderly abuse.
Best. Yes.
Yeah.
For 2 years, I've watched him, and that's what all I can think about is how he's being walked around. And yeah, he has good days. So did my grandmother when she went down that road. She had good days. She had bad days. But we didn't put her out in public to do what they were doing with him.
Yeah, but he's gone. Yeah, but he's stepping down now, though. I think that's now in the past.
Okay, but right now,
in this era of our election cycle is a dangerous part of time.
What do you mean?
Should he just step down completely and let her take the reins? She should have 25th Amendment him a year ago, 2 years ago even.
You're not the only one to say that, but I'm going to say if the Democrats do what the right is suggesting, it's usually not it's not in favor of the Democrats. If they listen to the right, they're going to die. I mean, the right is not recommending things that are good for the Democratic Party.
Well, I don't know if it would be good for him going that route or not, but I think it would have been better. I do anyway.
Do you feel Trump at age 78? Are you concerned with his age at all? You think he'll be top notch for 4 more years?
Last time we talked, I told you I didn't want neither one of them there.
Okay. So you believe that Trump should step down too then?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't like the fact that he's there. I don't like Democrat policies. I lean more libertarian, conservative. I'm going to go who I think's going to do what I want with the country.
Now I have to ask.
I don't care race, color, creed, gender. It's just, that's the way it is. And people are going to label me being a sexist and a racist because I'm not going to vote for her because of that, because she doesn't align with my beliefs.
Okay. Now, as a libertarian, because I bring this up all the time on the program, how do you feel about Trump promising to give police immunity from prosecution as a libertarian?
I don't like that at all.
Okay.
I didn't like it last time we talked about it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you say libertarian, because that's obviously a big government policy, is it not?
Yeah. Well, I took one of those. I was questioning myself because I listen to you a lot.
Thank you.
I agree with some of the things you say. So I took one of those political tests, and that's what it said. I lean more libertarian conservative.
I think the overwhelming majority of libertarians are going to lean more right because they are for smaller government. However, as I'm pointing out, I don't know if that resonates with Trump. I don't think Trump is necessarily for smaller government.
Right.
So,
I don't think either one of them are.
let me ask it to you this way: your libertarian side. If the possibility that Trump could give us a 7-2 majority on the Supreme Court, how does your libertarian side feel about a completely unbalanced Supreme Court for the rest of your life? Could be.
Yeah, I know. It's scary.
Yeah. All right.
Because absolute power definitely corrupts, and that's what it'll be like.
Yeah. I just want to point that out because you mentioned liberal policies.
Some parts of Chevron different. Some of it was good, and some of it was bad. I mean, a lot of those people did overstep their bounds. But then, like you said, we have socialist programs to protect the environment, protect the animals. I mean, it's for our protection. Police force, the fire departments. I worked for a volunteer fire department. We didn't get a lot of state or federal funds. It was all donations.
Right.
Or we went out and sold baked goods. Took us 4.5 years to get enough money for a down payment on a new fire truck. But we did it. But those socialist programs do help all of us.
Yeah. So how do you respond to someone that might say, I know in the comments saying, Democrat policies favor the people, Republican policies favor the corporations. What's your take on that?
Not always.
Not always.
Not always.
Give me some examples. That's a long pause.
Yeah, I'm not 100% 100% sure.
Okay. All right, I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, you got me there. I'm not. Nothing's coming to mind. I just.
Is that concerning? I mean, you sound like you're a hardworking American. You don't sound like a corporation. Is that not concerning to you?
Now the what?
I said, is that concerning to you that, as you say, nothing comes to mind?
Yeah.
All right. But you are likely to vote for Trump, though, correct?
More than likely, yeah.
All right, fair enough. I got to move it on flight. Appreciate you coming through.
Yep.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. By the way, folks, tap the screen, get the likes up to about 80,000. We still got about 1,000 of you hovering around that number. So tap the screen, get the likes up to about 80,000. Always Republicans are for material things instead of people. Damn. Blue Flame Chevy. Well, let me just say this. I'm not going to say the Republicans are for material things instead of people, but I will say if you are pro-capitalist, you're not for the people. And I think most Americans are pro-capital. Capitalism is about yourself. You know, what did Michael Douglas say? Greed is good in that movie. I mean, so it can be material things. I mean, capitalism is about me, me, me. It's really not being concerned with other people. It's about how much I can make. I mean, you obviously got folks in this country that are on the progressive side of the aisle that are saying there should be a limit to how much a person can make. In other words, if you're Elon Musk or Bill Gates or, Jeff Bezos, you've already made enough. The law should prevent you from making. Well, the right has said, no, there should be no cap. It should be to make as much money as you want. So this is where we get some of this stuff from. But yeah, I don't believe that if you are a true capitalist, you are concerned with people. I mean, what do we normally hear in this country when anytime you're talking about doing for the downtrodden? Who's going to pay for it? Because I don't want it coming out of my tax money. I want as much of my money to come to me. Even if I'm rich, I want as much of I don't give a damn about those people. That's kind of how the capitalist system works. It's kind of the way it's always did. I look it in the comments, though. You said the same thing that was implied in that person's comment. Yeah, just strengthening my take and agreeing with them. The top 1% are Democrats. Your argument makes no sense. Top 1% are Democrats, huh? You believe all of the oil tycoons, they're all voting liberal, huh? You really believe that? All of the top 1%, I'm assuming you think Elon Musk is a Democrat? Really? All right, we'll leave it at that. Top 1% are all Democrats. Going back to the box, asking that question, does going from Biden to Kamala Harris help the Democratic Party? Does it hurt the Democratic Party, or does it make no difference at all? Always good to talk to a female. Miss Mo Betta, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good to have you back on. Kamala Harris, what say you?
I think she'd be good for the Democrats. It should have happened a while ago. Biden's been declining for a while. My thing is, like, the Democrats that claim, was fighting for Biden to step down. Let's keep that same energy now when it comes to supporting Kamala.
So do you believe Kamala will lead to more votes for the Democrats?
Well, she's already killing them with making the money. I don't see why would the votes disappear and the money is there. That just wouldn't make sense,
Yeah, because they had stopped donating money to the Biden campaign because they were pissed off that
they were mad.
Yeah.
But she made about $80 million in 2 days. Yeah. That's record numbers.
That is insane. Yeah, I did a video within 12 hours. She had already made like 47 million, but that numbers continue to grow like a poor man's GoFundMe or something like that. But what I want to ask also is, are there certain voting blocks, like let's say the women's vote? Do you think that maybe she might be better with women or worse? Or, I mean, do you think the women's vote might
No,
favor
I
her.
think the women's vote is going to be major in this election. It's going to be it's major because she stands for us maintaining our rights to whether it's abortion or equal pay or whatever, you know. And I was reading in the comments where a lot of people were talking about, oh, she locked up a lot of black people. Y'all really need to go back and read what happened in those times that you are really talking about, because a lot of that stuff it's not fake, but it's misinformation.
Well,
So,
I will also say most
she's
of it
a
is.
prosecutor, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the stuff that they were talking about, it was her office that did it, and there was information hidden from her that she didn't even know about as the prosecutor. So there's a lot of stuff that they need to go back and really research. Stop just speaking what they hear somebody else say, because it makes you sound like a fool.
I will also say most of that stuff is 30 years or older or more. I mean, you're talking about stuff from the early 90s. I don't know if that's going to really hurt Kamala.
Right, and they want us to forget about, oh, Trump's cases is old or whatever. See, again, the reason why this stuff came up with Stormy Daniels, because he just recently tried to pay that off to hide it. If he would have left it alone, it would have left itself alone. But he actually brought that attention back to that case. Yeah. So that's why it's so recent. Yeah, the act happened years and years ago, but he still brought it up to where, all right, let's pay to make sure that doesn't show up in his campaign. Yeah. So he the one who started that, not the Dems or the liberals or whoever, however you want to call them.
So how do you respond to folks who might say that a female does not have the temperament to represent the nation's highest office?
I want to know what kind of household did they grow up in? What kind of voice did their mother have in their own house?
Yeah.
Let's ask that question. What kind of voice did your mother have or your grandmother have in that house? Because with the how I grew up, the women were the strong ones in the family.
Yeah, because that's certainly, a lot of us grew up with single parents, and certainly the mom had to carry all of the weight. So, yeah, I don't know. The idea that a woman can't handle the stress of the position, to me, that is kind of a sexist comment.
Very sexist. It's very sexist. And when they talk about, oh, well, race, this has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with race and sexism. I'm sorry. That's going to be first and foremost. This is why we don't have a female president right now.
Yeah.
We can go back to the Shirley Chisholm days.
What about the notion that Kamala talked about, I don't know if it was raising money for bail for some Black Lives Matter protesters. Here's a comment. I'll let you tackle it. But the name is the Raging Bigot. So I understand that's the person's name that's saying this, but the Raging Bigot said, wow, 141 American cities burned during BLM. Gas prices tripled, rent is doubled, we get paid the same, we make less, and you don't care. Do you see the world as that bleak under Biden compared to Trump?
Again, they're skipping over their locals and try to dump that into the president's lap. You're not looking at your local authorities and whoever's in the seat in your areas. You have to look at that stuff before we come to the president. That's why midterm elections and all of that stuff is very important. You can't skip over that and just say, oh, my president. The president doesn't have jurisdiction over a lot of things, whether they know it or not.
I'd also point out the notion that 141 cities, that's got to be most cities. I'd be curious to see what is your opinion of 141 cities burning. Is it one car was on fire? 141 cities burned. That sounds like an incredible fabrication.
They're full of shit, Tim, and anything to push that narrative, because I'm going to say a lot of people might not agree, but most of these people on here talking that shit don't like it because there's a black woman in place right now. Now, yes, I said it. I said it out loud too. Call me angry, call me whatever you want to, but that's the truth.
You believe a lot of Kamala detractors?
They'll never call it out like that, but I'm gonna call it how I see it. So they point out stupid things to point at her for, because they don't want to seem like the racist.
So you believe a lot of Kamala detractors, it's based on racism?
Oh, absolutely. And that she's a woman. She got a double minority according to them. You see how they talk about, because she had an affair with this Brown.
That comes up, Willie Brown or whatever. Yeah, that comes up a lot.
Willie Brown? What part of the government is he in? Who is this guy?
He was actually her boss.
All right, well, she sucked the right dick then. How about that? If that put her into a different position, she sucked the right dick. I'm sorry.
Okay, wow, no shame in the game. Give it up, Miss
Saying,
Nobody.
like your last guest was called, like, listen, I've been with a man 20-something years, and I'm still in the same position. I'm in the wrong profession.
Yeah,
I'm in the wrong
You know,
profession.
to some degree, because that's what Trump does. He don't, he gives it no fucks. To some degree, it might be beneficial to Kamala to get ahead of it by saying exactly what you just said. Who gives a damn?
Okay, because to go out there as a black woman, how much further do you think she was going to get? They're going to hold that back. They're going to hold you back just because of those two things. Oh, she's temperamental. She's black. Oh, she laughs too much. They just all the stupid stuff that they coming out of their mouth with. Listen, her resume speaks for itself. She was a senator. She was a prosecutor. She has a lot on her resume that it supersedes Trump's by 10 times.
You feel you feel confident she can lead this nation?
Oh, a prosecutor against a felon. She knows what questions to ask. This is what has MAGA in such uproar right now. They want to do everything in the world to get her down.
Whoa. Yeah, well, so what you're pointing out, and thank you, M. Bagley, for the fireworks. Appreciate that certainly coming from my guest. But you pointed out her being black, her being a female may hurt her. Do you think she can win?
She absolutely can. And like I said, as long as the people that are backing Biden, that were back, because he had a lot of backing, even with him declining, his numbers are still up. And hers is very close to Trump's right now. So, listen, as long as she go out there, her truthful self.
Did my caller get a call? We'll give her a second.
A call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Damn it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a call. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so, but if she comes out there and stand her ground, go out there all timid and acting like she doesn't know what she's talking about, and put the training that you do have to use.
So what about a debate?
She won't have any problems shutting Trump down.
What about a debate? You think she can handle Trump in a debate?
Absolutely. You know why? Because Trump is not going to know how to go at her.
Yeah, he will. He will. He's
liable
liable to show up with a pair of knee pads, so you know what he's going to do.
Like I said, she sucked the right pee-pee, and he just mad it wasn't his little. And from what Stormy Daniels said, he's not working with much. That's why he was so aggressive when it came to him essaying women. He had to take what he wanted because nobody wanted to give it to him.
Damn. So you do believe he actually really, assaulted a woman sexually?
Absolutely, and not just a woman, a few women. And little kids. You on the Epstein files all over the place. His name is mentioned more than any other Joe Blow. Stop playing. And they got videos.
All right, Miss Mo Better. Nobody tells it better than Miss Mo. Appreciate you coming through.
Better makes it better. Listen.
All right. Appreciate you coming in. Wow. All right, moving the program on. She certainly got a lot of applause from the audience. Kamala is tied to Joe. That is true. That's one of the negative aspects of Kamala that should be getting hammered. She should be getting hammered on from the MAGA side or the right side of the aisle. Certainly her suggesting there was no problem at the border at all for a couple years, and she should be getting hammered on how she's tied to President Biden. But you know what's happening instead? They're bringing up things like her citizenship and her affair 30 years ago and her prosecuting black folks, which, in my humble opinion, makes it look like you don't have much. As my last caller stated, and another previous caller, you're bringing up that she sucked a dick 30 years ago. That is irrelevant, because we know anytime anything that from the previous bygone generations was brought up in regards to Trump, well, he wasn't in office then. I don't care about that now. But you're bringing it up on Kamala? I personally believe if you're going to hammer Kamala, it should be negative aspects of the Biden administration where you can tie to her. Unfortunately for Kamala's detractors, about half of the stuff that you would normally hit Biden over the head with is irrelevant to Kamala. Certainly all of the you're too old, you're falling asleep, you can't put, none of that applies. And that's like among the greatest hits for MAGA. All of that stuff does not fuck Joe Biden, the FJB, is irrelevant. Because we know how that slogan was derived. It doesn't fit Kamala. Biden made a really good punching bag. Being honest, he made a really good punching bag. A lot of that stuff is not going to relate to Kamala. So it's all of this stuff has been ingrained in MAGA. They know this. They know the codes. They know the cheat codes on how to beat Biden pretty easy. A lot of that stuff doesn't apply to Kamala. So it's going to be a more challenging fight, no doubt. It's not to say that Trump may not win, but it's not going to be as easy with someone like Kamala. And we'll see what happens with the debate. Moving on, Marcus Forks, thank you for the super chat. 45,000 black women had a Zoom call and raised 1.5 million. I heard about that. Sherry Shepard, Star Jones, I believe, was orchestrating that, and so was the African American woman on The View. I can't think of her name right now, but she was part of that too. 45,000 black women had a Zoom call and raised 1.5 million from Kamala. That's saying a lot coming from black women. And strategized. White women, are you going to vote against your interests again and leave black women to save democracy? And to quote Spike Lee, the super chat ends with "do the right thing." Wow. So anybody who might wonder what Trump is going to do in regards to the black women's vote, my humble opinion is it just dropped whatever it was. I don't think that even Trump versus Biden, I don't believe Trump was going to get anywhere near 10% of the black vote from women. It's going to be worse than that now. Now the black men, because Trump is an alpha male, the African American men are more favorable to Trump than the women are. Obviously, rolling back Roe v. Wade, Trump being accused of sexual crimes and some of the statements he makes about women. I mean, the black women vote is just non-existent for Trump. But I'm going to assume Kamala is probably going to chip into the black vote from both genders, men and women. We'll see, but I believe it's going to probably be men and women. We've seen how favorable, before I go back to the box, the matter of way, tap the screen, get the likes on up. You guys can get me up over 100,000. Let your thumbs not be lazy. We got over 1,000 of you in here. Appreciate that. And same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. 165 likes is easy if you guys show the program some love. This is an uncensored program. We've seen during the RNC how popular Kid Rock and certainly Hulk Hogan really stole the show by ripping up in the shirt with the MAGA Vance logo on under it. Imagine how much capital in terms of celebrity that the Democrats can pull out. If they can get all of that from 2 or 3 people, because there's not a lot of celebrities that routinely endorse the right. The liberals can get almost the entire Hollywood industry. We're talking, obviously, any of the rappers and hip-hop industry. Most likely, folks are suggesting Taylor Swift might go that way. And then you toss in a side order of banning abortion in a host of states. It's going to be interesting. If Hulk Hogan can get that much applause and that much praise at 70-some-odd years old, imagine how many folks are likely to stand up for the Democratic Party. I think the only thing that's missing right now is Obama hasn't really came out and pushed hard for Kamala. Once that's done, I think the pieces will be in place. You'll see a lot of Hulk Hogan multiplied by hundreds of people. Looking in the comments, you bring Harris as the nominee and Trump is going to win by a landslide. Well, according to Trump, he already won by a landslide. If Trump wins by a landslide, the Democrats are going to say, oh, the Republicans rigged the election. Okay, so if you're saying if Trump wins by a landslide, the Democrats are going to say Trump rigged the election. But if the Democrats win, Trump is going to concede and say, I lost fair and square. Is that what we're hearing? Wow. Tap the screen, get the likes up over 100,000. Let me go back to the box. The Democrats are going to say the election was rigged. All right, I'm learning. Ginger Beard, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Ginger, 70,000 could not get in the call. Well, that's not to say they were all on the call. Ginger Beard, good afternoon.
What's up?
Not much. I was just about to drop. You got something going on. So what do you think? Kamala Harris is in the game. Good or bad or indifferent? All right, he said what's up and dropped. All right, we'll move it on. That spoiled child will never concede. I don't think anybody believes that Trump is going to concede the election. I want to point something out to you. This is actually a smaller topic we were going to discuss. I'll go back to the box shortly while you guys are hopefully showing the program some love by tapping the screen and getting the likes up as well. But I want to point something out. We all know that Trump survived an attempt on his life almost 2 weeks ago, a little bit over a week ago. We all know that Biden personally reached out to try to offer Trump sympathy, condolences, whatever the case may be. According to Biden, he did ultimately talk to Trump. They're not going to tell you what they talked about. It's nobody's damn business anyway. But Biden did reach out to Trump and got to speak to him. Now, Biden announces he's out of the race. I think everybody agrees it's probably due to the fact that he's in mental decline. He's out of the race. He's no longer a competitor for President Trump in the 2024 election. What does Trump do when Biden bows out of the race, bows out of the fight? I'm out. Goes on social media and tears him to shit. In fact, he's still doing it as of today. So I want to ask you folks, why is there such a difference? That you're going to tear apart the guy who just bowed out of the race, who only a week ago was calling you to offer sympathy when somebody tried to take your life. Does that make sense? The guy is no longer an opponent. Why would you tear him to shit when he was actually reaching out to show you at least some sympathy and some condolences when somebody tried to take your life? I want to point out the contrast and get your opinion on that. Going back to the box, to Keisha Bowie. Good afternoon to Keisha. Good to have you back on, stranger. Good afternoon. What's going on with the box? Okay, she came up and went. We'll try it again. Somebody says that's the kind of person Trump is. It looks, I would like to hear from you folks. How does that look? I mean, he reached out, offered sympathy, and then a week later, he's trashing the guy who is no longer his opponent. I mean, it's one thing if he's still running. He's not in the race anymore. Love to hear your opinion. Michael, good afternoon.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Kamala Harris, Democrats look like that's going to be their nominee. You think it's good for the Democratic Party?
I don't think the Democrats at this point have a say. It's up to the delegates at this point. The delegates at the DNC convention will choose their presidential nominee.
Okay.
And I imagine some of them are mad because Kamala said Joe was fine.
Okay. Fair enough, and you could be right. Some folks even equating it to elderly abuse, but if they ultimately go with Kamala, do you think that will be beneficial to the Democratic Party?
No.
Why not?
Because Kamala couldn't even win the nomination against Biden. And then didn't they make all the other candidates, didn't they not allow the Democrats not to vote for anybody but Biden this last time around?
Well, you're saying that they didn't host a primary. I do believe something like that happened.
Yeah, so why would they want the laughing hyena who was tied to Biden the whole time, who was responsible for the border because they said that he put her in charge, and she let in 20 million illegals?
Because the opposition is Trump, Michael. If they don't get Kamala, you think the Democrats will look at Kamala and say she's a laughing hyena? Let's vote for Trump?
Well, it depends on how bad their Trump derangement syndrome is.
Well, you do know the policies the Democratic Party stands for. You know what democratic principles are, right?
Yeah, lie to your voters, dictate who they're going to choose for the presidency again, and then turn around and try to pick the next person who lied to them about Biden's health.
And that's your definition of democratic principles, is the stuff you just stated.
Control.
Okay, how do the Democrats, what is their principle in regards to a woman's right to choose, in your opinion?
Oh, their principle is they're all for killing the unborn.
Okay, so if you believe that that's their principle, should they skip over Kamala and go to Trump?
Well, if they want to follow lockstep and don't think an unborn baby's life is worth anything, and they could possibly be killing off the next Einstein or Elon Musk or whatever, well, that's stupidity right there.
I didn't hear a yes or a no in that.
I don't know. I'm pro-life.
If a Democrat is pro-choice, wait, hold on. If a Democrat is pro-choice, should they vote for Trump?
I think they'd have to look at other factors other than just pro-choice.
Let's say if that is the primary reason they're voting, if they are pro-choice, should they vote for Trump?
No, they're going to vote for Satan if that's the case.
And if Satan is not on the ticket, what if it's just Kamala and Trump?
But Satan could be on the ticket because the delegates have to decide at the DNC
convention. We're assuming, we can talk about the delegates, but let's assume for shits and giggles in this conversation that Kamala is put forth by the delegates. And somebody is voting based on a woman having a right to choose. Should they vote for Trump?
I don't know. Is Trump completely anti-abortion? I'm not really sure what Trump stands for.
What was abortion rights in America before Trump came on the scene? Have they changed in any way, fashion, or form, in your opinion?
The only thing that's changed is gone back to the states.
Right.
So they can't force an abortion in every state now. Now they got to, move or drive to a different state to have one.
Right. So in other words, some women who normally would have been able to have this procedure locally may now have to drive hundreds or 1,000 miles or more to have the procedure. Would you agree with that?
Depending upon where they live. If you
live in, let's say you live in Miami. Let's say you live in Miami or New Orleans. You're going to drive hundreds of miles.
Yeah, they also drive probably hundreds of thousands of miles.
Right.
In the deep south.
Right.
Even in the north, they'll still be able to.
Okay, so women in the South that believe a woman should have the right to choose, should they vote for Trump?
They probably won't.
That's what I'm asking you. That is not what I'm asking you your opinion. Should they vote for Trump?
I think they should, because I think the economy and
we're not talking about the economy. We're talking about the right to choose. You're deflecting. We're talking about the right to choose. We're not talking about the economy.
The same people who believe in the right to choose didn't like the right for me not to get the vaccine.
We're talking about the right to choose.
Sure.
I get you're trying to put all these other in. We're talking about the right to choose. If that is why you are voting, should you vote for Trump?
No, they won't vote for Trump. If that is the only reason what they're looking for, they will not vote for Trump.
All right.
But I don't think it's enough votes to matter.
You don't think? Well, that's only one issue. I'm about to ask you another one. What if you favor the promise from the liberal side of the aisle that they're going to forgive tuition debt? Should you vote for Trump?
For tuition? Oh, didn't the Supreme Court turn some of that down?
I'm asking a question though. If the left is promising that they're going to find a way to forgive tuition debt, and that's important to you, should you vote for Trump?
No, they're not gonna vote for Trump because they're gullible.
All right. What does gullible have to do with it?
They're gullible.
Explain. What do you mean by gullible?
Biden's plan in 2024 or 2025 was to raise taxes, and people were supporting him. They're gullible.
Okay, well, you do realize to help people out, you're going to need some tax money, right?
I heard people in another live complaining that they didn't get a return this last year. And I'm like, that's because you didn't pay enough in to get a return.
Okay, and you're in a whole different atmosphere now. We're talking about tuition, and you went over to getting taxes back.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. They're gullible.
Well, I don't get where
they keep saying Trump's going to be a dictator. They keep saying he's part of the Heritage Foundation, which he's not. They were created in 1973. They're based upon the founders, limited government, and everything else. But they keep saying Trump's going to be the dictator. But who's the candidate who wouldn't let anybody vote for anybody else? Who's the candidate who pushed the vaccine mandate?
Michael, you do realize, Michael, wait, Michael. Michael,
Our world.
you're defending saying Trump's not going to be a dictator and all that. You do realize that's part of politics, right? Not Michelle Obama, but Obama was going to be a socialist that was going to take away everybody's guns and turn us into socialist Greece at the time. Now it's Venezuela. They were saying that Obama was going to turn us into Greece. I mean, people call the guy a dictator. I mean, you do realize that Trump partakes in that same name calling and stuff too, right?
Obama followed Hitler step by step.
Really? The guy
Yeah.
who legalized gay marriage followed Hitler? Can you show me where he did that in 1930s Germany?
Fast and Furious was his attempt to take away guns. He went to another country and said we're a nation of citizens, basically denouncing Christianity. And then he did Occupy Wall Street, which is basically his brown shirts, who were actually keeping Republicans locked into a building, just like the brown shirts did for Hitler. Shall I go on?
Well, I want to point out something. When you're comparing Obama to Adolf, for any of my MAGA viewers, and you know I always enjoy speaking to MAGA, anytime you find yourself complaining about people comparing Trump to Hitler, understand there are some MAGA that does the same thing. We're talking to one now. So understand that. This is where this stuff comes from. You can't complain when it's done to Trump when you got folks on your side. So you see President Obama, the guy who legalized gay marriage, the guy who has done all sorts of things for women too, as being like Adolf.
Who was the Nazis' biggest ally? The Muslims. Now, what did Obama do when the CIA offed the wrong person? He paid the family money like they do under Sharia.
You think that Hitler's biggest ally? I thought it would have been Mussolini.
No,
the Muslims?
His biggest ally was Islam.
Okay, that's a different part of World War II history.
That's
than
how
I
Iran
remember.
became Iran.
Huh?
Iran used to be Persia, and it became Iran.
Okay.
And under the Persian language, Iran means Aryan. The guy that was the ambassador to Germany was a huge Hitler fan.
Okay. Well, I don't think history is going to dictate that Obama had that much in common with Adolf, like you're talking about. Such as, I mean, you're talking about protecting the border. I mean, Hitler, really?
Well, if you look at Project 2025,
Yeah.
which the Democrats are complaining about, Project 2025 essentially follows the Captain America movies. And what was the premise of the Captain America movies? To remove Hydra from S.H.I.E.L.D. So what they're doing is going to remove Hydra from the government, the embedded Democrat bureaucrats. Hydra. You know, like the FBI who went after Trump for Russia, the embedded people. And then the other people in the government who went after Trump.
Okay, I don't. You're losing me on that.
Hydra was the Nazis.
I didn't watch Captain America, so I'm not going to go into Hydra. But I will tell you this: it is odd that Trump is saying he doesn't know anything about Project 2025 or anything about the Heritage Foundation when there's actual video of him online saying that they have the best vision for America. And Mike Pence was even saying, while Mike Pence was still vice president, if Trump gets reelected, how much they were going to do with the Heritage Foundation. So it is challenging to say, you know, well, Trump didn't know nothing about this. There are so many links to the Trump administration, people he put in power. Steve Bannon, Trump's right-hand man, Steve Bannon, is all over the Heritage Foundation, and Trump is ignorant to all of this?
Well, it's also been reported that somebody who worked for Obama also...
Obama's gone. Obama is gone, though. Bringing him up is not going to...
But it has been said on the news that someone who worked for Obama is also part of Project 2025.
Yeah. And you read Project 2025 and you point out the liberal aspects of that. That makes zero sense to me. That anybody from the Obama administration would be... I mean, the Heritage Foundation is even President Trump the other day stated, this stuff is far right. Connections to Obama, a far right group? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, it was one person. It's possible they could...
Okay, but there's way more than one person in regards to the Heritage Foundation that are connected to Trump. Way more than one. And we're talking about the authors of this whole Project 2025 are connected to Trump, used to work at his administration. Authors, people who wrote it.
Right.
You're not going to convince anybody that Project 2025...
If the Heritage Foundation is based on classical liberal principles, with what the founders wanted, limited government, etc., free market system, etc., how is he going to be a dictator if he follows that?
I don't know about the dictator part. We just know Trump came out and said, to the shock of Sean Hannity, that he wanted to be a dictator on day one. And we can talk about that on a different side. I'm simply saying that when it comes to Project 2025, there are far too many links to President Trump for people to believe he's totally ignorant on it. And by the way, when you look at how ridiculous, as Trump called it, or how far right Project 2025 is, can you tell me why there is not any significant amount of outrage on the right? All of these high-ranking Republican former politicians and administrative officials of the Trump administration, yet on the right, they're bitching about transgender females swimming for the wrong team. They don't have anything to say negative about Project 2025. Why is that?
If it's for limited government and it shrinks the government back within the confines of the Constitution, why would they?
They're claiming they don't even know what it is. They're not even saying it. They're saying we don't even know what this is.
Oh, well, I can't speak for them.
Yeah, because they're lying. Right, because they're lying.
I know what the Heritage Foundation is all about. It's all about the principles of Washington, Jefferson, Madison, etc.
Well, some of those guys owned slaves, right? They weren't exactly big on freedom for women, were they?
Jefferson tried to end slavery with the Declaration of Independence. South Carolina and Georgia refused to sign it if they removed slavery. We don't hand out participation trophies. Either you did it or you didn't. He inherited his slaves at age 14 and 17, and under Virginia law, he went to prison if he released them. He did have 2 run away that he just marked off his books, though.
He would have went to jail if he. I've never heard of that. I gotta move it on, Michael. You've been an interesting caller. Anytime, come on back through, man.
Have a blessed day.
You too. You too. This is how it goes, folks. This is how it goes. I've never heard anyone tie the Heritage Foundation to Barack Obama. Wow. That's different. That is different. Folks who suggested Obama was so damn far to the left, some say he was a socialist. And now we're going to tie him to the Heritage Foundation. That's different. I've never heard of that. Tap the screen. Get the likes up to about 120,000. We got over 1,100 of you folks in here. We'll continue to moving the program on. That was different, though. I've never seen that. Race means nothing. Sexuality means nothing. Honor and dignity mean so much. And we have none from the Fed. I don't quite. If you are a veteran, Project 2025 will take away your benefits. Read what it says about us. Read the Heritage Foundation read what the Heritage Foundation thinks about disabled veterans. I will say, as I told my last caller, there's no denying that a lot of Americans are concerned about what's in Project 2025. The idea that there's no outcry on the right other than, well, I don't know what they're talking about. We got to be beyond that by now. You got regular, everyday, average Americans that have read that 900-page document and know what Project 2025 is about. We should be beyond the point where so many members of the Republican Party are still using the phrase, I don't know what's in it. The hell you don't. All these folks are complaining. It's going to cost potentially folks in Washington their jobs, their offices, and the response is still, if you know about some transgender student in the middle of no damn where that joined a swim team and swam on the other team and broke somebody's record, how the hell you don't know about Project 2025? Anybody that believes these folks, right or left, that are in Washington claiming they have never heard of Project 2025 at this point are lying to you. It's been around, it's been in big circles now too long for anybody to continue still saying they don't know about it. That's just willful ignorance at this point. I would submit to you that everybody in Washington now knows the controversial nature of Project 2025. So if they have deliberately tried to not familiarize themselves with it, then may that be at their peril. Because everybody knows about it now. They're running freaking commercials on television about it. I don't know about it. I don't know anything about it. I haven't read it. Bullshit. And I will point out As I mentioned, the lack of outrage on the right is a bit telling. It's ridiculous. We're not going to do this, but you're not outraged for some of the things they're calling it. They want to make it virtually impossible for women to get out of marriage and all of this stuff. You ain't heard nothing about this? Really? And you're going ape shit about teaching CRT in some rural school? I don't buy it. I just don't. Trump and whoever the Democrat nominee is doesn't matter. They're owned by corpse oligarch. Look, I can't speak on that. I don't have any names. Project 2025 is the new platform for Homelander. Going back to the box, we'll go to Tiffany Speaks. Good afternoon, Tiffany. Welcome to the program. And don't know about Project. There's no way in hell I believe that at this point. Blue screen, run the Democrats. What is a blue screen? Project 2025 isn't his plan. I don't know if it's his plan or not. I'm just going to tell you, anybody saying that they don't know what it even is, that's bullshit. Maybe it's not your plan. But if you're running for the nation's highest office and all of these folks that have a connection to you, including Steve Bannon, and you've been on television at the Heritage Foundation and your only response is, well, I don't know what this is, that's not sufficient at this point. Familiarize yourself with this shit and give the people a little bit more than I don't know what this is. Because the people know what it is. Too many Americans, regular, everyday, working, hard working Americans, know what Project 2025 is. And a presidential contender does not? And all of the authors of this damn document are connected to you? That doesn't make sense. You'd have to be you'd have to be a fucking idiot not to believe that. That doesn't make any sense. All these folks are connected to you. I know about this and you don't? That doesn't make it. And then once you find out about it, you have virtually no outrage. You're not denouncing anybody. You're not saying, I don't want nothing else to do with this guy. He's too None of that. But you're all over transgender individuals or some dude that crossed the border and assaulted an American. I don't believe the lack of outrage is authentic. Just want to tell you that. Looking in the comments, Trump wants to implement Project 25. DJ Julio, appreciate the underwater beautiful display. Let me move the program on. Takesha Bowie, I think I tried to bring you up before. You had a problem. Takesha.
You did. Handsome, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How many times have you heard before Sean Hannity said it, somebody make fun about Kamala laughing all the time?
I've heard it a lot, just like Hillary Clinton.
What I'm saying is this. I'm so tired of the talking points that these people get from the people that are upset on the Fox News channel. They wanted Biden to step down. He stepped down. Now they mad. What do they want?
You're not going to do anything as a liberal that's going to please the Republican Party. Whatever you do, you did it the wrong way.
This is getting ridiculous. Now they up here talking about this lady, but they don't want us to say nothing about the Viagra stiff face 45th First Lady.
You talking about Melania? What's your beef with Melania?
That face stiffer than a penis on Viagra.
Oh my God.
But they don't want us to say nothing about her. But let me get off of that because, I always get, But listen, they wanted the man to step down. He stepped down. Now all of a sudden they mad because he stepped down. What they want the man to do?
Well, they want the liberals to lose. So it doesn't matter what the liberals do, it's going to be. You're never going to hear the right say, okay, what the liberals did now is the right thing to do. No matter what they do. Even when Biden reached out to Trump after somebody tried to take his life, the right's not going to give him credit for that either. I mean, no matter, even when Obama got on television and said, on my orders, they took out bin Laden, they were like, well, he's taking credit when SEAL Team 6 is the one that deserves the heroic applause. So nothing the Democrats do, if you don't like the Democrats, is going to be right.
It's really getting ridiculous out here in these streets, handsome.
Well, you got to admit, though, the left does the same thing. I mean, nothing Trump does is going to be right either.
And that's true. But I just want to say that Kamala, however you want to call her, she's now up to $90 million.
Wow.
And they said, that the black women are coming out strong with the money and endorsing, because that's what we do.
I heard that the black women were MAGA. I heard they were Candace Owens.
Absolutely not. And if they were MAGA yesterday, they not MAGAs today.
You telling me Candace Owens is now voting left?
We don't. She's not black. She's not black. We've been took her black card. We don't know what color she is. She just out here.
What about the remaining half of Diamond and Silk?
No. Once we kick you out, we don't accept you back in.
Oh,
no, sir.
Shit. You sure?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
I've had people tell me they took my pass away, Takesha. I may be kicked out.
You still got your black card, Tim. We're not mad with you.
I still got a low credit limit, huh? I still got it, but it's got a low credit limit.
Listen, your limit's so low you got to swipe your card on your knees, but you still got your card, Tim. You still got your card.
Now you know they're gonna say if I'm on my knees, I'm down there with Kamala.
You know what? Let me say this, because I said it on Zeus.
I'm wrong. I get it. I'm wrong for that. Keep going.
Let me say this. If she slept her way to the top, she knew how to maintain and stay there. How many people haven't slept their way to the top? We can't help it because some of their vajayjays are drier than arid extra dry, and they couldn't get past being a stalker at the Dollar Tree. That's their problem. Don't get mad at that woman because she had that fine stuff that got her to the top, and you couldn't even be a head cashier at the Dollar Tree.
I gotta say, by the way, I went to a political gathering when Kamala was running for president, when Christine Hildebrand and all them were, and I got to hug Kamala. Because I'm 6'6", 300. She was barely up to past my belly. She's a little something. She looked good in person. I gotta tell you
pretty.
That. Yeah, she's really good looking in person.
But what's wrong? She didn't sleep with their husband. If she was a mistress, she wasn't sleeping with their husband. So what they worried about for? They ain't worried about Donald Trump over there playing with Stormy Daniels, because that's all he did. Because she said he didn't come no further than his thigh, and he had to wear a Band-Aid for underwear.
You are crazy, girl. No, Trump said he didn't hit that. That's all made up.
I know he didn't, because he couldn't reach the mark. So I'm willing to believe it. When you got to sit down to pee, ain't too much you doing for a woman.
Oh my God. I'm going to assume you don't hold President Trump in high regard.
At all. At all.
So you do believe the sisters will come out for Kamala?
Let me tell you something. Them pink and green with them pearls, they come in full force, and we right behind them. That mean them AKAs, because she an AKA. All the Greek are coming behind her. We gonna come after her like we did for President Obama, baby. We coming.
You really think that Kamala's gonna draw the same support as Obama?
Let me tell you
I don't
something.
agree with that.
Listen to me. We coming like an old man in a jail cell watching a nudie picture by himself. We're coming. He jacking and we ain't lacking. We coming.
Jesus, girl, where do you get this shit from? You should be doing a freestyle. Let me point out, Sean B45 states, Grindr, the official app of the RNC. Wow. The RNC men went on the hunt for other RNC men. Hopefully, I hope you had a good and safe time. Whoa.
What?
What the fuck? Let me read that again, because we know what Grindr is, the app. The official app of the RNC, them RNC men went on the hunt for other RNC men. I hope you had a good and safe time. Wow.
What he's saying is they went for some right now cock, because that's what RNC stand for.
Jesus.
So that's what they went for, the right now cock.
And I don't know what happened there. I see folks in the comments saying they crashed Grindr. I hope there's no validity to that. Oh my God.
Oh my
Jesus.
goodness. Are they out looking for ping ping?
I gotta go. Let me get some sanity back. Takesha, I appreciate it. All right. You're going to give me laugh lines more laugh lines than I already got. Wow. All right. Can't wait till Soros' money dries up for you. Mac, according to how much money Soros apparently has, that's never going to dry up in our time. Alter Ego. Yeah. Thank you for the hat and mustache. I do appreciate that. Are you guys gay bashing, says Daniel Tweedy. I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to let you guys decide what that was. I'm just taking the calls. I don't block, ban, or censor. You know how the program is run. Wow, is all I'll say. Continuing on with the one and only DJ Julio. DJ, I'm in the trenches this afternoon, man. I appreciate you coming on. DJ, Kamala Harris, what say you?
You got some damn dirty birds on your freaking site here today. Holy shit, Mo better. It's like you're blushing over there. I ain't never seen a black man blush that bad.
You know, wow, these girls are they're coming hard. I like it though. I like it. Good conversation.
Not bad. Yeah. For sure.
Well, but you got to keep in mind, there's no shortage of folks on the right that are talking about Kamala Harris and her sexual exploits. So the left is going to do their thing too.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's shit talk versus shit talk versus shit talk.
Yeah, you know the odd thing is, because we're used to the shit talking coming from Trump predominantly, and some liberal voters, but it was mainly coming at the time from Trump, and the left was kind of, getting it rammed up them. But it sounds like that Kamala may have energized the Democratic Party. What say you?
I say I Googled this before I hopped on the line, and I left it in my van. She's got a 50.4% disapproval rating and only a 38 approval rating.
Yeah, but when is that based on? I'm sure those numbers are before she got. Go ahead.
That was posted today.
Okay, all right. I tend to think that's going to change. Any idea where that came from? What's the source?
There was 596. Fuck! I should just walk outside and get my card out of my truck real quick. It was 560 something or 590 something polls that they ran and her approval. Just Google it. Whoever just said, I'm not talking to you, Tim. I know you're busy on here. JJ looks like. Google it. You'll find it out yourself.
I don't disagree with you, but I will say this. We've had 3 elections with very unpopular candidates. Trump and Clinton at the time was the most unpopular presidential race in history. Then it went the same way with Trump and Biden. Trump himself, his favorite. Now you're talking about Kamala Harris. It's not like Trump's favorable numbers are really sky high. They're bad too. I don't know. Maybe they're not quite where Kamala is. I'd have to look at it, but it's not like Trump can go around bragging on that.
No, and I don't disagree with that. I didn't check Trump's. I should have, just so I could come back at that question there. I just checked hers because we were talking about her today. So
I'll tell you this. One of the biggest outcries on the right that they celebrated often is the size of their rallies compared to Biden. I think Kamala's going to draw a crowd, man.
Well, I mean, of course she's going to draw a crowd. I mean, she's a female. She does her thing.
Can she win? You think she has a real chance of winning?
I don't think she does.
Why not?
She couldn't beat Biden. Yeah. Tim, she couldn't beat Biden to run for president when it was her time to do it.
Yeah, but if you go by what you're saying,
she wasn't even in the top 10. Tim, I mean, come on.
But wait a minute.
This is all a show.
Let's take what you're saying. She couldn't beat Biden. You do realize President Biden, the guy in the White House right now, lost a couple elections for president before he became president, and he did poorly in those elections. He lost before.
And he did poorly in the office, too, so it makes sense.
But what I'm saying is, if you're going to say that Kamala can't win because she lost, 8 years ago or whatever, I'm telling you that Biden has proven you can do that.
If you pay the right people to do the wrong things, yeah.
You got evidence of that?
I agree.
You got evidence of that?
Do you have evidence that we don't? Nobody does. Nobody has the evidence.
So in other words, it just may be completely fabricated.
The whole thing is, the whole system's corrupt right now, in my opinion. You know that. You know my opinion on that. I don't trust the entire system. I walk on eggshells all over the place now.
Was it not corrupt when Trump was in office?
No, we had no wars. We had no division. We had no fights. The only division that we had during Trump's presidency was everybody going after Trump. That was it.
And he wasn't going after anybody, just an innocent guy getting attacked by everybody.
Well, no, he defended himself properly.
Really? You think when he started talking about athletes taking a knee, that was self-defense? They weren't saying nothing about him.
Athletes taking a knee should have been kicked off the field immediately.
So in other words, he was proactively attacking people too. You just agree with it.
I just agree with if you're announcing America, bye.
Yeah. Ever heard of free speech?
I've heard of free speech, but this is America. If you're denouncing America, remember when we were kids and we had that rule that if we talk bad about the president, we could find ourselves in trouble?
Until the president started talking bad about us, that changed.
Well, I mean, times do change, but
right.
America is still America. And what I want to say is, we always talk about, what Democrats have done. That's the past, and Kamala, that's the past, and this and that, and that's the past. But the second we bring up Trump, and I say that's the past, it's, well, no. I was going to bring that up earlier because I heard it a lot on you today. I'm picking on you today, Tim. I love you to death, but I'm picking on you.
Feel free to do so.
Every time we talk about Trump and it's brought up that's the past, we get called bullshit. Every time Democrats talk about it's the past, it's just the past.
Well, I'm one that believes what you did in the past is something to be concerned with. I don't believe in dismissing either person's past. When we talk about, what you want to bring up on Kamala or what you want to bring up on Biden with the crime bill, well, then if somebody brings up that Trump was not renting apartments to black people, that is relevant too. I mean, that comes up too.
Have you ever, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good, you're good.
Have you ever gone back and actually looked at all the documents on that?
I didn't go back and look at all the documents on the crime bill either. No.
Okay, so do me a favor though. Just because we do talk about Trump a lot, we do talk about the time where he supposedly didn't rent to
black people,
to black people, African American folk, whatever you want to call them. Go back and look at that. I won't say no more about it today because we're not talking about that. But go back to that and read that whole case. And then you'll have a different opinion on that too.
Would that make me change my mind on the Central Park 5 as well?
You might be a Republican after you read it.
And where am I going to find this documentation?
Google.
All right.
Just all you got to do is type in Trump didn't rent to colored people case log, and then it pulls it all up.
You do realize he settled in court and had to actually pay. He actually lost the case in court. What documents are going to show up? Why would he lose in court if he didn't do it?
We've talked about that before. Sometimes you just have to pay to shut things down and be done with them.
At that level, all right, I'm willing to entertain it.
When you're a multimillionaire at that time, like he was, and trying to do the things that he was trying to do in New York with the rail system and putting up condos and buying all these lands, or the what do they call them, the construction rights or the development rights to all these different lands that he was trying to do in New York in the early 70s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And then when all this crap came up in the 80s about him not renting to color folk, it's all in there. If you actually like take
if
we take the ugly out of our mouth and actually do some listening.
Julio, come on now. You realize when folks are talking about things about what I want to say, a politician that they don't favor, nobody's going to go do all that research. I mean, the same thing when they
a bunch of sheep.
Well, that's how it works though. When they say things about Kamala, they're not going to go back and look through and verify. You say this and you leave it at that. I don't know why when it comes to Trump, all of a sudden everything needs to be looked at in terms of context. That doesn't happen.
I'm not saying context. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not bringing up any context. I'm just telling you, go look it up, do some research, and actually do some like bipartisan. Don't have an opinion on it. Just look at it to get informed, and there's a really good chance you're going to vote for Trump.
Well, if you want to go with that argument, I would tell you to probably do the same thing about the idea that the parties never switched, or Biden's relationship with Senator Byrd. You're going to get the same stuff if you're doing on that side, because everybody says Biden is tied to a member of the KKK. And if you look up Biden and you look up Senator Byrd, you may become a Democrat. I'd invite you to do that as well, because what you hear on that is not accurate.
And I still don't like any of that. And listen, it's not about, for me, it's not so much about the politician that's running for the main office. That's my big deal. It's the stance and it's the party. I don't stand for a party that's willing to unalive the next Einstein, just for fun.
But you're okay
because they went out on.
But you're okay with giving police immunity?
We talked about that. You know better than that.
All right. So, but that's the party. You're going to get rid of the party that is pro-choice, but you're going to go to a party that is willing to give cops immunity. I don't see what the difference is.
When you take the time and you do the Benjamin Franklin clause, do you know what the Benjamin Franklin clause is? Are you in sales?
No, I'm not.
Benjamin Franklin clause is basically the pros and cons.
So in other words, the lesser of two evils.
Not even the lesser of the two evils. I would say the less evil of the two.
That sounds like the same statement I just made.
Well, less evil is not the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. I don't, to me, there's no way to sugarcoat giving police immunity. I mean, I get your stance on pro-life, pro-choice issues, but giving police immunity from prosecution, there is no good outcome to that.
Well, yeah, but we know that's not going to happen. Those are talking points. He's trying to get his voter base.
The fact is, you want to do it though, Julio. And by the way, he can do it potentially for the federal government. You don't know what power Trump is going to have in regards to the Senate and Congress when he takes office. If he has control of the House and Senate, it could happen. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Well, no, but neither is going to World War III with the current administration, with the next person in line for his administration.
I'm just going to say, promising to give the police immunity, if my only saving grace is to say, well, as bad as it sounds, he can't do it. The fact is, he's made it clear he wants to give the police immunity from prosecution. That's what he wants to do. Just like,
but he also wants to keep us our Second Amendment. He also wants to repeal to repeal and rewrite the tax code. He wants to give taxless tips to anybody that works in service. He wants to work with American people to do American things so that me and you in the lower spectrum of America, that we can stand up on our own 2 feet, take care of our people, afford to go get groceries and gas. I mean, the things that Trump wants to do, if you guys quit beating up on him and then you actually start looking at the things that he wants to do for America as a whole, it outweighs the Democrat view and the Democrat policy. I don't even know what the Democrat policies are right now. What they're trying to shoot.
When you respond in that manner, to me, being concerned about giving police immunity, I kind of picture looking at, say, George Floyd with a knee on his neck and bending down and talking to him and saying, but Trump forgave your taxes. You can get gas now for $2 a gallon while he's begging for his mom. I'm pointing out all these great things that Trump has done. Meanwhile, this cop with immunity is slowly oozing the life out of the guy. But I'm talking about all this great stuff that Trump's going to do. I don't know if I'm going to overlook immunity for all of that.
Tim, you and I both know that an average American citizen, one that wants to live a life, one that wants to prosper, wants to raise his kids, his grandkids, in the future generations, none of us are going to have to worry about whether or not police have immunity because we're not out doing stupid shit. If you're out doing stupid shit and you get caught by the cops, I got pulled over yesterday. First thing I did, my hands go out the window.
I gotta, right off the bat, tell you, in my humble opinion, even me personally, I don't have a criminal record at all, Julio. If I was given immunity, I might go out and do some crazy shit if I knew I could get away with it. The idea that if you give police immunity, only the criminals will have to worry about them. Maybe you're just really attractive to an officer and you rejected his advances. If he has immunity, there's no way in hell I'm going to believe police giving immunity are only going to deal with criminals.
What you don't understand about the police immunity thing is that it doesn't give the individual police officer immunity
says who?
From prosecution.
Says who?
No, it doesn't.
Says who?
It says the damn, read it.
So what?
Read the whole plan.
So when Trump says I want to give police immunity from prosecution, what is he promising to give them that they don't already have now?
So what it does is it takes the police that are in the field, it takes them from losing their personal homes, their personal cars, their personal monies. What it does is turns it into a police station investigation, and it goes through there. So they themselves are not going to go to jail. It's going to go to the police, and it's going to happen through there. There'll be fines instilled, all kinds of shit.
How about immunity?
Go read that shit.
How about immunity from civil responsibility? That's what you're talking about. He said prosecution. You don't lose your home in a prosecution. There's more to it than what you're saying.
Sometimes, and yeah, they do. Someone just said it already. That I just saw it. The police already have forgiveness for them. Yes. So that's all it's doing.
So I
go back to continuing on with that.
Yeah, I go back to my original statement. Trump is promising to give them something they already have, and in my opinion, your explanation is not covering it, and he don't give one. So we gotta hope that you're right, because we don't know. He himself does not explain what type of immunity he's giving him. So I'm forced to listen to folks that support him, trying to make it sound like it's not that bad. I'm concerned, man. I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, we should be more concerned about
immunity.
Well, no, listen. We're not. The Democrats are putting in a potential presidential candidate that lost against the current president big time. She wasn't even in the top 5. They're not giving it all. They're taking democracy completely away from all the Democrats by not allowing them to vote on who they want to run.
But you notice only people complaining about that is primarily Republicans. When the Democrats are not getting democracy, you notice the Democrats ain't complaining about that?
I would not be okay right now if Vance was a goddamn vice president and Trump was senile and losing his shit. I love you too. Drive safe.
But it doesn't matter how you're not in the.
I would not be okay with not having a vote on Vance. I would not be okay with that.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
All right, but you're saying the Democrats are being cheated, but the Democrats are fine with it. So you might be right. I'll leave it at that. But the Democrats are happy with it.
I'm not talking about the Democrats in Congress. I'm talking about the Democrats as a whole.
I'm talking about the Democrats as a whole do not have a problem with Kamala Harris going against Trump. It's mostly folks on the right that are complaining that the process was not done properly or something like. The folks on the left are celebrating Kamala Harris being put up to the top.
That does not make any sense to me. And how does it make sense?
Because
she wasn't a contender freaking 4 years ago, and she all of a sudden is the top of the. She hasn't done shit for this country as a vice president.
But you're saying that
she hasn't done shit for the border. She hasn't done shit for nobody.
But you're saying it doesn't make sense. You're on the right. It makes sense to the people on the left because they think she can win, Julio. That's why it makes sense to them. They think she can win.
There's no way she's winning.
There was no way Biden was going to win either, right?
Well, I was worried about Biden the whole time because he's been in politics for so damn long. He had so many people behind him.
And the Democrats were going to,
Obama behind him.
And the Democrats were going to get trounced in the midterms too, right?
Who? Say that again?
The red wave of 2022. The Democrats are going to get smashed.
Now you're talking about the past again.
I'm talking about the fact that the right has said over and over again people couldn't win and they were going to lose, and they've been wrong over and over again.
Yeah, well, because right now the swamp has control of the political button.
All right.
Swamp. I know they do.
All right, I got to move it on, but you can say it with me.
You can't tell me BlackRock ain't part of this. You can't tell me all these other big corporations ain't part of this. Come on.
I was told when Trump got elected, he was going to drain the swamp. It sounded like it actually grew.
Well, you have to. In order to figure out what part of the swamp has to be drained and where the drain is, you've got to root out everybody. So what he did was put people in office that could potentially do good or be the ones that were bad. And we found out who was bad quick. How many people did he fire?
Yeah, it's easy to say all of that after you failed. When he was elected, he was promising to drain the swamp. After he failed, well, I got to expose him first and I got to do it. You didn't say that when you got elected. Now you changed it. I got to move it on, Julio.
Well, are you sure we're almost to 150? I bet we could get there. There's people
in fact, unfortunately, I got to go to the doctor, so I got to drop. But I'm going to be on in a couple more hours, though.
All right. I'll talk to you again, probably.
All right. Appreciate it, Julio. And as you heard me tell my last caller, I do got a doctor's appointment I got to go to. I want to answer a couple super chats for some supporters on YouTube did chime in. I don't want to ignore super chats anytime ever. James Phillips says just because with Trump, it isn't the past. A lot of things that folks are saying in the past on Trump is actually current. I get your point. And also Phillips says, look, civil forfeiture, it had the same possibility. We're talking about, in regards to giving police immunity, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think there's any explanation at all that justifies giving police immunity from prosecution. Anytime I hear immunity, first thing comes to mind is lack of accountability. Giving police immunity, and Trump said I want to give them immunity to lose their jobs. Now, one thing I didn't mention with DJ Julio was Trump was stating the actual quote in regards to giving police immunity is he said, I'm going to be working with liberal mayors and liberal cities to get the crime down, and I'm going to give police immunity from prosecution so they can do their jobs. So when he starts talking about working with liberal mayors and liberal cities, all I hear is Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, places where people look like me. Them are the cops he's going to give immunity. It's the people that are dealing with folks that look like me. At the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of folks committing crimes in liberal cities like that are black. They're minorities. And those are the ones, to bring down crime, you're going to give cops immunity. It's concerning to me. I just want to tell you that. I'm always in liberal cities. I don't have a criminal history at all, but I don't want to be dealing with cops that got immunity under the guise of, as my last caller said, as long as you keep your hands on 10 and 2, he won't mess with you. You ever had somebody have a big-ass, vicious dog, teeth are long as a spike? As long as you don't say nothing, the dog won't bite you. I don't want to be near that. I don't want to be near a cop that has immunity under the hopes that as long as I don't do nothing wrong, he won't bite me. I don't want nothing to do with that. And if Trump doesn't explain that, that's a deal breaker for a whole lot of people. I want to point that out. Real quick, final super chat. Don't be a criminal, so immunity doesn't matter. This is a troubling mindset. Why give those more ability to subject certain demographics more problem? Thank you for the super chat, Ryshine Powell. He kind of stated what I just said. The whole notion of if you don't be a criminal, police having immunity won't matter. That falls into the category of all cops, 100% of them are good, and as long as you follow the law, you'll never have a problem. I think we all know 100% of police are not good. Giving police immunity is basically a blank check to do bad shit, and you're just kind of hoping they don't. There's a lot of folks with badges that shouldn't have them. I don't believe there's any profession in America where everybody's good. Even priests, even 100% of priests are not good. I wouldn't want to give them immunity. Why do people support this? If you just follow the law, this guy with no accountability will treat you right. As I stated, maybe you're an attractive woman and the cop wants your phone number and you're refusing to give it to him. Maybe the cop is not happy that someone like you can drive a car that's worth their whole damn salary multiple times over. How the hell does somebody like you get a car when I'm out here protecting the public and I can barely afford to feed my... You don't know what's on that cop's mind when he pulls you over. By the way, there are a lot of constitutionally protected rights you as a citizen have that cops don't like you using. I don't want you searching my car without a warrant. That's not being resistive. A lot of cops think it is. I have the right to free speech. A lot of cops don't like what you say. It can result in bad outcome. If they got immunity, why is this so hard to understand? Real quick before I move on, this is a troubling mindset. Why give those more ability to subject certain demographics more? I can't defend giving police immunity. No way, no how. James Phillips stated, that's what we thought about civil forfeiture. Only drug dealers would have to worry. Great point. Same thing with the Patriot Act, the RICO statute, all of that stuff. When it was first implemented, it's for those people, and we won't have to worry about it as long as we don't commit a crime. The Patriot Act was promoted by George W. Bush as a way to stop terrorism. Guess who are the overwhelming victims of the Patriot Act? Red-blooded Americans like you and me. All of this shit comes home to roost. A lot of folks see what's happening in Chicago, New York on television and think that if we give those cops immunity, it's for them. It'll never happen in my neighborhood. Until you get pulled over by a cop that maybe is not pro-Second Amendment, now he wants to take your guns and run the registration and do it will come back to bite you. Why would you support this? See you guys in a few hours. It is your boy Tim the Handsome Liberal. I do gotta go. Catch you later. Thank you for tuning in, and certainly on YouTube as well. Appreciate it.